Diana Schad, CEO of Family Business Alliance, here with Geoff Miller, President of Grand Rapids Chair Company. Geoff, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Diana.
We'd like to learn more about your work with Grand Rapids Chair and the company itself, so I'm going to start with a few basic questions. First, what year was Grand Rapids Chair founded?
Well, the company that Grand Rapids Chair came from was called Manufacturers Resource, and I believe Mom and Dad started Manufacturers Resource around 1991.
Okay.
And then we formally changed our name to Grand Rapids Chair right around 2000.
Okay. How old were you when that would have happened?
I would have been 16 years old, 17
Okay.
years old, so sophomore, junior in high school.
And how big was the company when it started?
It was one person,
It was just your dad.
just my dad.
And how big is it today?
We have about 153 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other locations or just the Byron Center location?
Just this location.
Do you guys have a website or social media site that you promote your products on?
Yeah, we have a website, grandrapidschair.com, and we're actively engaged with several different social media platforms. I think the platform we like the most is Instagram,
Oh,
but we're also active as a brand on Facebook, probably number 2, and probably a close tie for third between Twitter and LinkedIn.
okay. So you guys are really active with
Yeah,
that.
we're
Do you
very
have
active.
your own marketing department that handles all of that?
Yes, we have 3 people that are the core marketing team at Grand Rapids Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You mentioned that you're the second generation. Are you the only family member still involved, or are there other family members still involved in the business?
Well, I was the only family member involved in the business between probably 2013, when my mom and dad retired, until June of this year, where I successfully recruited my sister to come
Oh.
work for Grand Rapids Chair. So Allison has been with us now formally for 4 months, 5 months now.
I didn't know that. What is she doing for you?
Allison is our Michigan sales rep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're super excited to have her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I had not heard that, so that's
Yeah.
great that she's involved with the business now, too.
Yeah.
Is your dad still involved at all, or is he retired?
Dad had retired formally in 2013, as did Mom. Really, they're still around, but not actively engaged in really any capacity other than coming around and slapping high five and kissing babies and shaking hands.
Okay. I know your dad used to have a studio here where he was like refabbing boats and stuff. Does he still come in here for that, or?
I wish they did,
Okay.
to be honest, but when he was diagnosed with cancer last year, and the whole basically process of getting over cancer really wrecked its toll, and he hasn't been back.
Doesn't come in as much.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
It's nice to see him around.
No, I know. I've heard some nice stories about when he comes in.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Grand Rapids Chair and your projects, your product, and some of your big clients?
Definitely. I guess I would really start with third, kind of where did we come from?
Yeah.
So the story is very long, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
My mom and dad started that company named Manufacturers Resource in the early 90s after my dad left more or less what it was a family business.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a family office that would purchase furniture companies that were underperforming with the desire to correct their performance and sell them for a profit. So my dad, in approximately maybe 15 plus years, was a member of a 4-person management team, was the VP of manufacturing, where he ran the manufacturing of these mostly residential furniture firms here in West Michigan. And right around the late 80s, early 90s was a fairly interesting time in both the residential furniture industry in North America. During the 80s, that industry really went to an offshore type of movement, and a lot of the residential furniture manufacturers, definitely in Grand Rapids, moved their manufacturing from the U.S. to low-cost countries.
Mm-hmm.
So as that industry was really dying and decaying, my dad decided to move and start his own business, which became Manufacturers Resource. So he was an independent sales rep who sold mostly pieces and parts to a very small customer base. If Dad and ultimately Mom came to work for him, maybe 92, 93, the two of them had probably no more than 10 customers. Steelcase was one of their large customers that I remember very well. And between 1991 and 2000, the reason that Mom and Dad grew their rep business and ultimately decided to change their name was that customer base of the office furniture industry was really growing with the dot-com boom, Steelcase, Herman Miller, Knoll. A lot of these large office furniture manufacturers were really in a growth mode, and with that growth mode came a lot of opportunity for my mom and dad to sell more products, and in selling those products not only but also add more value and get more markups. Came to work for them right around September of 1998. We were still Manufacturers Resource. We really had no brand, and we had maybe 10 other employees, and we were doing value-add activities to a lot of the pieces and parts that Mom and Dad were selling at the time. And we were doing warehousing services. We were doing some finishing, some upholstery. The precipice for changing our name was another West Michigan family. And I really don't want to say their name or their company name, but they were close friends with my mom and dad for probably 30 years, and they had a contract manufacturing company. So they didn't really have a brand, but they had a manufacturing process, and they made pieces and parts for other manufacturers, kind of exactly what Grand Rapids Chair was doing at the time. The owner and founder of that company got sick, and when the owner of that company got sick, he eventually died 3 years later, and during that 3-year time horizon, the business kind of went away because the founder was the company, and the people that they were selling to really identified, hey, we don't buy from X company, we really buy from that person, and he's gone now, so now we're not going to buy from them anymore. And it really was eye-opening for my parents. Really what they wanted to do was build something bigger than them. Hey, we're going to change our name and we're going to build a brand, because a brand is bigger than any one person or group of people. So they decided to change their name to Grand Rapids Chair right around 2000. That's really how we got to where we are today. Mom and Dad deciding to build a brand because a brand is bigger than them, bigger than me, bigger than us.
So what is your brand now? What is your brand today, and what products are you selling now?
The connection to the original Grand Rapids Chair that we created in 2000 to today, really there is no connection. If I could show you our original brand product introductions, they were wood chairs. The market that we were trying to penetrate was the residential furniture industry. We had chairs and table products that were residential in feel and very traditional. So Queen Anne armchairs, ball and claw chairs.
Very different than what you have today.
Very different than what we have today. And I often joke with people that ask the story, I think that we didn't ever sell one of those original products. So in the years between changing our name right around 2000 and 2005, we did have this branded product, but really what carried us for about 5 years was those OEM partnerships. Those OEM partnerships were with people in the contract office industry, and then also really in the industry that we operate today, which is the hospitality industry, mostly core restaurants. In 2005, our largest customer at that time was Burger King, and we were essentially a tier 2 supplier to Burger King. They were about 50% of our sales. In 2005, they fired us. Overnight, our business was basically cut in half, and we were left reeling, what do we do now? And what we decided to do was to really attack their customer base, because we had really nothing else to do. It was either close the shop or try to sell our products direct to what were our customers' customers. That's what got us into building what we're doing today, developing products specifically for where you eat and drink. So anywhere you eat and drink, it could be a self-standing restaurant or a restaurant cafe in a larger facility such as a college, university, a healthcare hospital, or another corporation.
And is that international or mostly nationwide?
We are operating in an industry that very much is geographic in nature. So about 70% of our sales are east of the Mississippi. And of those sales that are east of the Mississippi, about 65% of them are upper Midwest to the East Coast.
Okay.
So the industry is what we really call fragmented, small, geographic players.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So now I know, through my friendship with your wife,
Yeah.
that you have a history of naming some of your products about family members.
We do.
Can you talk a little bit about how that started and maybe give us a few examples of some of the names and why you chose those?
Well, I would attribute the current naming convention more or less to Dad. We couldn't think of names for our products, so we just started thinking of family members. I think one of our first chairs was the Jill chair, which is my mom. We had another seating product that was the Allison chair, which was my sister. And then once he ran out of female family members, he went to female people at Grand Rapids Chair, and we launched the Amanda, or Friends. There was a product called the Diana, which was my parents' next door neighbor at their summer home. So there really wasn't a defined strategy on why we're going to pick these names, but it really has stuck with us over the last 20 years, and it's one of those cool things that really defines the brand and separates the brands from other companies. You know, we have cool stories around people that our products are named after.
Well, I know you have two children, Brooke and Brady. Do they have their own chairs?
Yeah. Brooke has been discontinued and relaunched as another product. So the original Brooke chair was launched, years ago and didn't sell well, so we discontinued her. She was relaunched in a brand new product that came to market last year. It's a solid wood chair that's doing very, very well. Brady, my son, has never had a product until 2016 named after him. And actually that product family that is the best-selling product family today, which is super cool.
Oh, that's great. Does he know that?
He knows that. Yep. There's also a Melissa product family, and for years the Melissa product family's been number one on the list. A lot of our internal employees that started at the company after Melissa was launched have had the sole purpose of really killing that product line because we want new intellectual property and newer, more relevant products launched. It wasn't until 2 years ago that the Melissa was off as number one.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, for our listeners, that's your wife. So a
That is my
well-deserved
wife.
position. So
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Grand Rapids Chair's core values. What are some of the core values that you've based the business on?
So when we started the company, none of the things that you would think of as an established company existed. We didn't have any core values. We did not have a strategy. We didn't have a tactical plan. I like to think of really where we came from as swashbuckling entrepreneurialism. So as we grew, that became more and more difficult to have no values, no strategy, no tactics. Hey, we just sell stuff. We make stuff and sell stuff. It wasn't until 2010 and 2011 where we really started to think about what's our purpose, who are we, where is this business going, and that's really a continual process that we come back to every year. But values for Grand Rapids Chair, that work started right around 2010, and it wasn't until about 2014 where we had a clearly stated, like, what is the value set of Grand Rapids Chair? And I think that was really cool work to have the opportunity to really define who are we, what's our purpose, and what separates us and defines us as a corporate entity. And that was a series of employee meetings. I think we had 7 different kind of grassroots groups getting together, and we had challenging conversations with the purpose of we want values and we want to define who we are and what makes us special. That today embodies itself in the Grand Rapids Chair values of chair. And we really like having that acronym because our name is Grand Rapids Chair and our values are chair: commitment, honor, agility, investment, and respect. Really unbundling what that means is it really is the definition of where we came from and how we got to where we are today and where we want to be in the future. And it takes good old Midwestern values to get that done. So commitment, I think, unbundles itself as hard work. Honesty is acting with integrity and doing the right thing. Agility is not being a specialist, but being a good all-around team player and the ability to wear multiple hats. Hey, I can weld a chair. I can do sewing. I'm a good powder coater. I'm not just one thing. I can do a lot of different things, which agility is very special in terms of defining, hey, we're good at making stuff. We're good at making chairs and tables. There's a lot of different needs in making a product. Investment is the continual desire to invest in ourselves, invest in our community, and invest in our employees and our partnerships. And respect is treating people as you would seek to be treated.
Wonderful. Well, you mentioned something in there about West Michigan values and West Michigan ethics. Was that, why did the founders choose West Michigan? Was it just because you were here, or was there a reason that you chose the West Michigan area?
Well, we chose West Michigan because we were here.
Okay.
But I believe that we're here for a reason. This area of the Midwest is known for craftsmanship and in manufacturing and furniture building. That's the reason there's so much furniture manufacturing in this region. I think it goes back to really the 1800s and the 1700s. There was vast resources of water, materials, wood. So that's probably the reason the industry started here in the first place. But the reason it still exists is the people.
You had a big move several years ago. You moved your facility. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the impetus behind that and how that's worked out?
Yeah, great question. This is actually our 5th facility since 1991. Okay. So the first facility was my parents' garage in downtown East Grand Rapids. This is our 5th facility, and the primary reason and the precipice for the last move was it was an interesting time in the history of Grand Rapids Chair. My mom and dad had just retired, and when you looked at the infrastructure of the buildings, there was 3, and the land that we were on, it was old, a decaying infrastructure. It was very inefficient. We occupied 250,000 square feet on 3 floors. It was about a half-mile radius.
Wow.
In between kind of the campus of what was Grand Rapids Chair. So it was very hard to make things because of the physical infrastructure that we had. At that time, we were completely debt-free. We decided to move because we decided to reinvest in the company. I was thinking of really, as my mom and dad were retiring, what did that mean for me? Was I going to stay in the company? Was I going to leave the company? There was a lot of flux and turmoil in that intergenerational change between my mom and dad and me. And when we decided to move, that was when I 100% committed that we're moving this thing to the second generation. We're going to do this. And if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right.
Well, it is a beautiful facility.
It's
really, I haven't
we're
been
really
down
proud
here before,
of it.
So
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
One of your qualities is being American-made. Was that a conscious decision to stay American-made within the company?
Yeah, definitely. My dad and I would always joke the reason that we do what we do is we don't know how to do anything else. We're really good at using our hands to make things. We don't seek to sell things that we don't make. We're really proud of manufacturing things. If you ask other employees, like, why are you here? It usually will embody itself in really 2 different comments. Well, I love the people that I work with, and I'm really proud to see our stuff in the restaurants that I go to. It's interladen with the pride of craftsmanship. And the pride of craftsmanship is we make stuff where we live, and we live in Grand Rapids, we live in Michigan, and we live in the United States.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Sounds like the employees are very committed to that as well. So now, as a family-owned business, is that something that you find to be an advantage or a disadvantage in marketing your products to the companies you work with?
I know it's an advantage, and the reason I know it's an advantage is really a brand is only as strong as the people working in the brand, whether they're independent sales reps or internal marketing team, sales team, manufacturing team. The whole collection of people that work for Grand Rapids Chair is really what makes that brand better than another brand, in my opinion. And when you really start to try to unpack why people are here, I really love the people that I work with, and I'm really proud of the products that we make. They'll come out as different words, but the meaning that I take away from a lot of those statements, people are comforted in knowing that a family is here and is here for good and has a long-run perspective on the business. You can rely on someone, you can trust someone, and they're your rock.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about you personally.
Yep.
Because as a friend, I know that you are a big biker, and I'd love to hear how that helps you in running your business, how the biking has challenged you, and how that's something you've integrated into being an owner and CEO of a business as well.
Well, cycling is a bit of a double-edged sword because it's very much addicting, and if I do one thing too much, it's cycling. But for cycling, and for me, cycling is my outlet, and I'm a firm believer that every person needs to manage their mental health, their physical health, their spiritual health, the health of their family and friends. And for me, managing my physical health helps me manage the rest of my overall being. And I know when I'm not exercising like I should, it's when the other parts of me start to have trouble. So I definitely bike a lot, and it helps me maintain a physical vigor, and with that physical vigor comes mental vigor, spiritual vigor, and a commitment to being the best with my family when I'm...
Geoff, what does the phrase "sit happy" motto mean to you, and what do you think it means to your customers?
Sit happy is our purpose at Grand Rapids Chair. The sit is connected to the happiness because of the great products that we make. So we're seeking to keep people sitting happy. It's mostly to define how we want to define our culture and improve our culture and keep our people just doing better and better and better every day, but closely connected to the products that we make. We make chairs and tables, and we're seeking not only for our employees to sit happy, but for our customers to be sitting happy in the field.
Thank you. Well, we are almost out of time, but I have one last question. How do you think your founders feel about where the company is?
Well, I do get anecdotal feedback from mom and dad in fairly informal ways. It may come as a text message. It may come as a casual kind of pat on the back at a family dinner. It may be a phone call. But all in all, I think my parents are very satisfied with the legacy that they've left, having really built something from nothing, and to have successfully transferred really the ownership and the management of a business to their little boy, me. I think they're very gratified in that, and it gives them great satisfaction. So they are happy. Hate to speak for them, but they tell me that a lot.
Good. Well, thank you so much for having us today and joining us and sharing your experiences with the company.